The text from my mother came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing acquisition contracts in my office. Well, not exactly an office. More like the main salon of my 180-foot yacht currently anchored off the coast of Monaco. But my family didn't know about the yacht. They didn't know about most things when it came to my actual life. I stared at the message on my phone. Claire, I think it's best if you don't come to Amber's baby shower this weekend. We don't want any drama, and honestly, your presence would just make everyone uncomfortable. I hope you understand. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I set down my phone and looked out at the Mediterranean, its impossible blue stretching to the horizon. My assistant, Pierre, appeared with my afternoon coffee, a perfectly prepared flat white, exactly as I liked it. Problem, Miss Harper? He asked, noting my expression. Family, I said simply. He nodded knowingly. Pierre had been with me for 5 years. He'd seen enough to understand what that word meant when I said it. I picked up my phone again and typed a response to my mother. I understand completely. I hope Amber has a beautiful shower. Her reply came within seconds. Thank you for being mature about this. It's really for the best. For the best. As if excluding your daughter from a family celebration was some kind of reasonable boundary setting rather than the latest in a 15-year pattern of dismissal and contempt. I set my phone down and returned to the contracts. The Belmont Properties acquisition was proceeding smoothly. 17 residential properties in an exclusive Connecticut neighborhood that included, coincidentally, my family's country estate. The sellers had been eager, the price reasonable, the timing perfect. By Wednesday evening I'd sent another text to my mother. A no problem. She'd probably interpreted those 2 words as gracious acceptance of my exclusion. Resignation to my role as the family disappointment who was finally learning her place. She would learn differently by Saturday afternoon. Let me back up and explain how we got here. I'm the younger daughter of Richard and Patricia Harper. My sister Amber is 35, 3 years older than me, and has spent her entire life being exactly what our parents wanted. She married Connor Mitchell, a corporate lawyer from a good family. They live in a beautiful colonial in the neighborhood adjacent to my parents' country estate. Amber does charity work, sits on nonprofit boards, and is now expecting her first child, my parents' first grandchild. I, on the other hand, am the disappointment. When I was 18, I didn't go to Yale like Amber had. Instead, I went to a state school, much to my parents' horror. When I graduated, I didn't pursue law or medicine or any of the acceptable professions. I said I was working in tech, which they interpreted as unemployed and making excuses. When I was 25, I moved out of their Connecticut sphere entirely and bought a small apartment in Boston. They assumed I could barely afford it. I never corrected that assumption. Over the years, the family gatherings became increasingly uncomfortable. Amber's achievements were celebrated lavishly. Her wedding, her promotions at various nonprofits, her perfect home, her perfect life. My accomplishments, such as they understood them, were met with polite disinterest or thinly veiled concern. Still doing the tech thing? My father would ask at Christmas. Still in that little apartment? My mother would add. Still single? Aunt Margaret would chime in as if being unmarried at 32 was a terminal diagnosis. I'd smile and nod and change the subject, because explaining the truth was more trouble than it was worth. The truth was this. At 22, fresh out of college, I'd developed an algorithm for optimizing commercial real estate transactions. I'd built it into a software platform that I licensed to major real estate firms. By 25, I'd sold that company for $340 million. But I didn't stop there. I'd taken that money and started investing in real estate myself. Not residential homes or small properties, but entire portfolios. Apartment complexes, commercial buildings, residential developments. Over the following 7 years, I'd built a real estate empire worth approximately $2.8 billion. I owned properties in 17 states. I had a home in Boston, yes, a penthouse in the city's most exclusive building. But I also had homes in Manhattan, San Francisco, London, and Monaco. I traveled constantly, lived on my yacht for months at a time, and ran my business from wherever I happened to be. My family knew none of this. They thought I was barely scraping by, working some vague tech job, living in my little apartment in Boston, too unsuccessful and embarrassing to include in their society functions. And I'd let them think it. Because the moment they knew about the money, everything would change. They'd suddenly be interested in my life. They'd want to be involved. They'd act like they'd supported me all along. I preferred the honest contempt to fake love based on my bank balance. But Amber's baby shower, that was different. 3 months ago, when Amber announced her pregnancy, my mother had been ecstatic. She'd immediately begun planning an elaborate baby shower at their country estate. The same estate where they'd held Amber's engagement party, her bridal shower, and countless other celebrations over the years. I'd been invited to all of those events, of course. I was family. But my role at these gatherings had become increasingly clear. I was the cautionary tale. The daughter who'd made wrong choices and was paying for them. My presence was tolerated but not welcomed, acknowledged but not celebrated. At Amber's engagement party, my father had made a toast. To Amber, who's always known what she wanted and gone after it with determination and intelligence. We couldn't be prouder. The implication, that I didn't know what I wanted and lacked determination and intelligence, had been clear to everyone. At the bridal shower, my mother had given a speech about Amber's good judgment in all things. Career, relationships, life choices. She'd glanced at me when she said it, her meaning unmistakable. So when the baby shower invitation came, I'd known what role I'd be expected to play. The single, unsuccessful, disappointing sister, watching from the sidelines while Amber achieved yet another milestone I'd presumably never reach. I'd been preparing to endure it with the same grace I'd shown at every other family event, until Tuesday's text arrived. My mother had decided that my presence would ruin Amber's special day. That I would make people uncomfortable. That it was best if I stayed away. For the first time in 15 years of quiet endurance, something in me snapped. I'd let them diminish me. I'd let them treat me like a failure. I'd let them exclude me from their inner circle. But excluding me from a family event entirely? Drawing a line that clear? That required a response. On Thursday, I placed a call to my real estate attorney. "Mitchell," I said when he answered, "I need you to accelerate the Belmont property's closing. I want it done by Friday afternoon." "Friday?" He sounded surprised. "Claire, that's aggressive. We haven't completed all the due diligence." "I've already completed my due diligence," I said. "The properties are solid. The titles are clear. The sellers are motivated. What's the holdup?" "Just the normal procedural items. Surveys, inspections, title insurance." "Pay whatever you need to pay to expedite everything," I said. "I want to close tomorrow." "Mitchell, I want the deed transfers processed immediately. Same day recording. No delays." "May I ask why the sudden rush?" "Family matter," I said. "The timing is important." He knew better than to press. "I'll make it happen." "Good." "Mitchell, once the transfers are complete, I need courier service to a specific address in Connecticut. Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. precisely. I'll send you the details." "Courier service for deed transfers?" He sounded puzzled. "Wouldn't it be easier to?" "I want them hand-delivered," I said. "By helicopter." There was a long pause. "By helicopter." "I wanted to make an impression," I said. "Can you arrange it?" Yes. Yes, I can arrange that. Though Claire, this is going to be expensive." "Mitchell," I said calmly, "I just bought 17 properties for $89 million. I think I can afford helicopter courier service." "Right. Of course. I'll handle it." On Friday afternoon, Mitchell called to confirm. We closed. All 17 properties are now registered to Harper Holdings LLC. Deed transfers are recorded. The courier helicopter is scheduled for tomorrow at 2 p.m., departing from Westchester County Airport. Destination, he paused, the lawn of 47 Belmont Road. "Are you sure about this?" "Absolutely sure," I said. "Should I ask what this is about?" "Family reunion," I said. "Of sorts." Saturday morning, I was having breakfast on the yacht's upper deck when my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered. "Yes. Ms. Harper? This is James Wilson, head of security at the Belmont estate. We've been notified that a helicopter will be landing on the property this afternoon. I wanted to confirm this is authorized." The Belmont estate. That was what my parents called their home. The sprawling 6-acre property with the main house, guest house, pool, tennis courts, and manicured gardens. They'd bought it 15 years ago when my father's investment banking career had been at its peak. It was their pride and joy, their symbol of having made it. The helicopter landing is authorized, I said. It's delivering important documents. To Mrs. Harper? He asked, clearly confused. The documents are regarding property ownership, I said. Mrs. Harper will want to see them immediately. I see. And should we allow the helicopter to land or? Mr. Wilson, I said calmly, as of yesterday afternoon I own that property, along with every other property in the Belmont neighborhood. So yes, you should allow the helicopter to land. In fact, you should facilitate it. You work for me now. There was stunned silence on the other end. I'll be sending you a separate communication from my attorney confirming your new employment, I continued, along with a substantial raise. I believe in taking care of good security personnel. Ms. Harper, I don't understand. You will, I said. At approximately 2 p.m. this afternoon. I trust you'll handle the situation professionally. Yes, ma'am, he said, still sounding shell-shocked. After I hung up, Pierre appeared with more coffee. The security guard? He sounded confused, I said. He won't be the only one, Pierre observed. At 1:45 p.m. Monaco time, 7:45 a.m. in Connecticut, I received a text from Mitchell. Helicopter is in the air. ETA 1400 hours local time. Pilot has the envelope. This is either brilliant or insane. I texted back, why not both? At 2 p.m. Connecticut time, I was on the yacht's upper deck with a glass of champagne, my phone in hand, waiting. I didn't have to wait long. At 2:03 p.m. my phone rang. My mother. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hello, Mother. Claire. Her voice was shrill, barely controlled panic. What have you done? I'm sorry, what? The helicopter. The deed. Claire, what is this? What's happening? In the background I could hear chaos. Multiple voices, someone crying, the distinctive thump of helicopter rotors. I'm not sure what you mean, I said calmly. I'm in Monaco. How would I know what's happening at Amber's baby shower? Don't play games with me, she hissed. A helicopter just landed on our lawn. Right in the middle of the party. Security tried to stop it, but the pilot said it was authorized. He handed me an envelope with legal documents. Oh, the deed transfer, I said. Yes, that should have been delivered around now. Is there a problem? A problem? Claire, these documents say you own our house. I do own your house, I confirmed. As of yesterday afternoon. Along with all 17 properties in the Belmont neighborhood. It was a portfolio acquisition. Very good investment, actually. The properties were undervalued. This is insane. You can't just. I can actually. And I did. The sales were all willing seller, willing buyer. Legal title transfers properly recorded. Your previous landlord, the Belmont Trust, was happy to sell. They've been looking for a buyer for months. Landlord, she repeated, her voice strangling. We own this property. No, Mother, you don't. You've been leasing it from the Belmont Trust for the past 15 years. Surely you read your housing documents. The silence on the other end told me she hadn't. They'd been so excited about the country estate that they'd never bothered to check whether they actually owned it or were just long-term tenants with an option to buy that they'd never exercised. The deed transfer, I continued pleasantly, officially transfers ownership from the Belmont Trust to Harper Holdings LC, my company. Which means as of yesterday I'm your landlord. You can't evict us, she said, but her voice wavered. We have rights. We have a lease. Your lease expired 6 months ago, I said. You've been month to month since then. Which means I can terminate your tenancy with 30 days notice. Though I'm being generous and giving you 48 hours to vacate. 48 hours? It's in the envelope the pilot delivered. Formal eviction notice signed by my attorneys filed with the county. You have until Monday at 2 p.m. to remove your personal belongings. After that, anything left on the property becomes my property. Claire, this is your father's home. Your sister's home. Your childhood home. My childhood home? I laughed and I heard the bitterness in it. Mother, I lived here for 2 years during high school before you sent me to boarding school. Amber lived here until she was 25. This was never my home. This was Amber's home. Just like everything else has always been Amber's. That's not fair. What's not fair? I interrupted, my voice harder now. is texting your daughter to tell her she's not welcome at her sister's baby shower. What's not fair is spending 15 years treating me like an embarrassment because I didn't follow your approved life script. What's not fair is excluding me from family events while taking my holiday gifts and birthday presents and pretending I don't exist except when it's convenient. We never. You did. You have. Constantly. And I let you because I thought eventually you'd see me for who I actually am instead of who you decided I was. But you won't. You can't. You're so invested in the narrative that Amber is the success and I'm the failure that you can't see anything else. There was noise in the background, my father's voice demanding to know what was happening. Is this about the baby shower? My mother asked, and she actually sounded confused. Claire, if you wanted to come that badly, you could have just said. It's not about wanting to come, I said, and my patience finally snapped. It's about being family. About being included. About being treated like I matter. But I don't matter to you. I never have. So fine. You don't want me at your events? You don't get to have your events at properties I own. Claire, please. The eviction notice is legal and binding, I said. You have 48 hours. I suggest you start packing. I hung up. For a moment I just sat there looking out at the Mediterranean, my heart pounding. Pierre appeared beside me with fresh champagne. Well, he asked. She's upset, I said. I imagine so. My phone started ringing again. My mother. I declined the call. It rang again immediately. My father this time. Declined. Then Amber. Then my mother again. Then my Aunt Margaret. Then Connor, Amber's husband. I declined all of them and opened my phone's text messaging. We don't want you ruining your sister's special day, my mother had texted on Tuesday. I pulled up her number and typed, enjoy the party. Then I silenced my phone and went back to my champagne. Over the next 6 hours, my phone accumulated 47 missed calls and 63 text messages. I didn't read any of them. I had a late lunch on the yacht, took a swim in the Mediterranean, and then got dressed for dinner at a Michelin-starred restaurant in Monaco with a business associate. It wasn't until Sunday morning that I finally looked at the messages. My mother, Claire, please call me back. We need to talk about this. You can't just throw your family out of their home. My father, this is unacceptable. I'm calling my lawyer. These eviction papers won't hold up in court. Amber, I don't understand what's happening. Mom says you bought our house. Claire, what's going on? Connor, Claire, I'm an attorney. I've reviewed the documents. They're legal, but this is excessive. Can we please talk about this reasonably? Aunt Margaret, Claire Elizabeth Harper, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this is family. You don't treat family this way. And then around midnight Connecticut time, a message from my father that made me smile. I spoke to my attorney. He confirmed everything is legal. You actually own the properties. I don't understand. How did you, when did you? Claire, I think we need to have a serious conversation about your circumstances. My circumstances. Even now he couldn't say it directly. Couldn't admit that his unsuccessful daughter had just bought his house out from under him. I made coffee and took it out to the upper deck. The Mediterranean was calm, morning sun turning the water to gold. It was going to be a beautiful day. I texted my father back. I'm willing to discuss lease terms. But we do it on my timeline with my conditions. His response came immediately. Name them. I typed out a message, deleted it, started again. Finally I settled on, family meeting. Tuesday. Your choice of location. Restaurant, hotel, conference room, somewhere neutral. Everyone is invited except me. You'll meet with my attorney instead. He'll present my terms. Why not you? Because I'm in Monaco. And because I don't trust any of you to have a civil conversation with me right now. There was a long pause before his next message. We're your family. Despite what you think, we love you. I stared at that message for a long time. They loved me. Maybe they did in their way. But love without respect, love with conditions, love that required me to be less so they could feel like more. That wasn't the kind of love I needed. I typed back, we'll see. Tuesday. 2 p.m. I'll have Mitchell send you the location. Monday afternoon Monaco time. Monday morning Connecticut time. I had a video call with Mitchell to prep him for the meeting. Walk me through it, I said. What are we offering? Mitchell pulled up his notes on screen. Option 1. They can continue to lease the Belmont property from you at fair market rate. which is approximately $12,000 per month for the main house. Month-to-month lease with 90 days termination notice from either party. Fair market rate, I repeated. What were they paying before? According to the old lease documents, $5,000 per month. The Belmont Trust gave them a sweetheart deal because your father went to college with one of the trustees. So my parents had been living well below market rate for 15 years, using their connections to secure favorable terms while lecturing me about financial responsibility. Perfect. Option 2. I prompted. They can purchase the property from you at current market value, $8.5 million. Cash sale, no mortgage contingency. Close within 60 days. Do they have $8.5 million? I asked. Not according to the financial records I pulled. Your father retired last year. Their savings are substantial but not that substantial. They'd have to liquidate most of their retirement portfolio to make it work. Option 3. They move out within 48 hours as originally specified. You convert the property to a different use, rental, sale to a third party, or hold it vacant for your own use. And what do you think they'll choose? Mitchell smiled slightly. They'll ask for option 4, that you give them the house. Which I won't. Which you won't. So they'll eventually settle on option 1, the lease, while they scramble to figure out how to raise the money for option 2. They'll feel like they're getting a fair shake while also feeling deeply uncomfortable that their daughter is now their landlord. Perfect, I said. Claire, Mitchell said carefully, may I ask what you're actually trying to accomplish here? Is this punishment? Revenge? It's a boundary, I said simply. For 15 years they've treated me like I was less than. Like I was an embarrassment. Like I didn't deserve respect or consideration. They excluded me from family events. They dismissed my accomplishments. They made it clear I wasn't what they wanted in a daughter. So you bought their house. So I established clear terms for our relationship going forward. I corrected. If they want to be in my life, they need to respect me. And if they can't do that, they can at least respect the fact that I hold the cards now. And if they choose option 3, if they decide having you as their landlord is too humiliating and they move out entirely, then they've made their choice, I said. And I'll know exactly where I stand. Tuesday afternoon, I was on a conference call with a property developer in London when Pierre signaled that Mitchell was calling. Hold on, I told the developer and switched lines. How'd it go? That was... Mitchell paused, clearly choosing his words. That was one of the most uncomfortable meetings I've ever attended. Tell me everything. Your entire family was there. Parents, sister's husband, even your Aunt Margaret. They'd hired their own attorney, someone your father knows from his banking days. Very expensive, very aggressive. And I presented the 3 options exactly as we discussed. Their attorney immediately called them unacceptable. Said you were being vindictive and unreasonable. Said no court would uphold an eviction based on what he called family drama. What did you say? I reminded him that the eviction has nothing to do with family drama and everything to do with property ownership rights. The lease expired. They're month-to-month tenants. You're terminating the tenancy with proper notice. It's all completely legal. And then your mother started crying. Your sister asked why you were doing this. Your father demanded to know where you got the money to buy 17 properties. Your aunt said you were breaking the family apart. How did you respond? I said that you'd provided 3 options for going forward, all of them reasonable, and that they needed to choose one by end of business today or the eviction would proceed as planned. And they chose option 1. The lease. $12,000 per month, starting immediately. Month-to-month terms. They were not happy about it, but they signed the paperwork. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. Good. Claire, Mitchell said carefully, your mother asked me to ask you something. What? She wants to know if you'll come to Amber's baby shower. This Sunday. They're doing a second shower. Apparently the one on Saturday was completely derailed by the helicopter incident. Is that what they're calling it? The helicopter incident. They're calling it several things actually, most of which I won't repeat. But your mother was insistent. She said to tell you that you're invited. That they want you there. That you're family. I thought about it. The baby shower where I'd been specifically uninvited because my presence would ruin everything. Now they wanted me there? No, I said. Claire. They don't want me there because they've suddenly realized I'm worth having around. They want me there because they're scared. Because they need to placate their landlord. Because they're finally realizing that I'm not the failure they thought I was and they need to recalibrate. So what do you want me to tell them? Tell them. I paused thinking. Tell them I'll come to the baby shower on one condition. What condition? My mother has to call me. Personally. Not text, not email, not a message through you. She has to call me and invite me herself. And she has to mean it. And if she does? Then I'll come, I said. And we'll see if we can start over. The call came on Wednesday evening. Claire, my mother said, and her voice was different than I'd ever heard it. Smaller. Kitten. I owe you an apology. Yes, I agreed. You do. I didn't know, she said. About your success. About your business. About any of it. You never told us. You never asked, I said. Every time I tried to talk about my work, you changed the subject or made a joke about me being unemployed. You decided I was a failure and you never questioned that assumption. I was wrong, she said simply. We were wrong. Your father and I, we spent so long comparing you to Amber, measuring you against what we thought success should look like. We didn't see what you were actually building. Because you didn't want to see it, I said. Because it was easier to have one successful daughter and one disappointing daughter. It made Amber look better. It made you feel better about the choices she made versus the choices I made. That's not. She started then stopped. Maybe that's true. Maybe we did need you to be less so Amber could be more. It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. I'm sorry, my mother continued. For the text. For uninviting you. For 15 years of making you feel like you weren't enough. You're enough, Claire. You've always been enough. We just couldn't see it. Because you didn't want to, I repeated. Because we were afraid, she said, and her voice cracked. You were so different from what we expected. You didn't follow the path we understood. And instead of trusting you, instead of supporting you, we criticized you. We pushed you away. And now you own our house and you're in Monaco and you're this person we don't even know. I'm the same person I've always been, I said. You just didn't bother to know me. I want to, she said. I want to know you. The real you. Not the version we made up. Will you come to the baby shower on Sunday? Please? Not because you're our landlord, but because you're Amber's sister. Because you're my daughter. Because you're family. I looked out at the Mediterranean thinking about family. About what it meant. About what I wanted it to mean. I'll come, I said finally. But Mom, things are different now. I'm not going to pretend to be less than I am to make anyone comfortable. I'm not going to hide my success. I'm not going to play the role of the disappointing daughter anymore. I don't want you to, she said. I want you to be yourself. Whoever that is. Hey, I said. Then I'll be there. On Sunday I flew commercial from Nice to JFK, then took a helicopter. My own, not a courier service, from Manhattan to Westchester. The helicopter landed on the lawn of the Belmont estate at exactly 1:55 p.m. This time James Wilson, the security guard, was ready. He smiled and waved as I stepped out. Miss Harper, he said. Welcome home. Not home, I corrected. Just visiting. Of course, ma'am. I walked up to the main house carrying a gift, an elegant baby blanket I'd purchased in Monaco, cashmere and impossibly soft. My mother was waiting at the door. Claire, she said and pulled me into a hug. You came. I said I would. We walked into the house together. The living room was full of people, family, friends, colleagues of Amber's. They all turned to look at me when I entered, whispers rippling through the crowd. Everyone, my mother said loudly, I believe most of you know my daughter Claire. She's joining us today. The whispers grew louder. I could see people pulling out phones, probably Googling me. By now, word had spread about what had happened at Saturday's shower. About the helicopter, the eviction notice, the fact that I owned the entire neighborhood. Amber approached, her baby bump prominent under a flowing dress. She looked nervous. Claire, she said. I'm glad you came. Congratulations, I said, handing her the gift. I hope you and the baby are healthy. We are. Claire, she glanced around at all the watching people. Can we talk? Privately. We went out to the terrace, away from the crowd. I'm sorry, Amber said immediately. For Saturday. For Mom uninviting you. for 15 years of treating you like you were less important than me. Were you treating me that way? I asked. Or did you just not notice I was being treated that way? She flinched. Both probably. I was so focused on my life, my achievements, my milestones. I didn't think about how all the attention on me meant less attention on you. I didn't think about how Mom and Dad compared us constantly and I was always the winner of that comparison. Did you like being the winner? I asked. Honestly, yes, she admitted. It felt good to be the favorite. To be the one they were proud of. I didn't question it because questioning it would have meant giving up that position. And now I feel like an idiot, she said. My little sister owns my parents' house. She flies around on helicopters and yachts. She's built this incredible business empire and I didn't even know. I've been bragging about Connor's career and our house and our life, and the whole time you've been operating on a completely different level. Is that what bothers you? I asked. That I'm more successful than you thought? No, she said, and she sounded genuinely distressed. What bothers me is that I didn't know you. That I was so wrapped up in my own life that I didn't see yours. You're my sister Claire. And I treated you like wallpaper, like background, like you only mattered in relation to me. You did, I agreed. I want to do better, she said. I want to actually know you. Not because you're rich or powerful or own the house I grew up in. Because you're my sister and I've missed 15 years of having a relationship with you. I looked at her, really looked at her. She'd always been the pretty one, the poised one, the perfect daughter. But right now she just looked like a scared pregnant woman who was trying to figure out how to fix something she'd broken. Hey, I said. We can start over. But Amber, you need to understand something. I'm not going to compete with you. I'm not going to diminish myself to make you comfortable. I'm not going to play small so you can feel big. I don't want you to, she said. I want to be sisters. Real sisters. Where we both get to be ourselves. Then we'll see how it goes, I said. We went back inside. The party continued, but it was different now. People kept coming up to me, asking questions, trying to understand. I answered honestly, about my business, my properties, my life. My mother stayed close, almost protectively, making sure people were respectful. At one point my father pulled me aside. Claire, he said, and he looked older than I'd ever seen him. I've been thinking about what I would say if I got the chance to talk to you. And I realize there's only one thing that matters. I'm proud of you. Are you? I asked. Or are you proud of what I've accomplished? There's a difference. Both, he said. I'm proud of what you've built. But more than that, I'm proud that you built it on your own terms without caring what we thought, without needing our approval. That takes real strength. I always needed your approval, I said quietly. I just eventually learned to live without it. You shouldn't have had to, he said. And I'm sorry that you did. We stood there for a moment, not quite reconciled but perhaps beginning to understand each other. 3 months later, I was back on the yacht in Monaco when I got a text from Amber with a photo attached. A tiny baby girl with dark hair and her father's eyes. Meet Sophia Claire Mitchell, the text read. Named after her brilliant aunt. I stared at that middle name, Claire, and felt something shift in my chest. I texted back, she's beautiful. Congratulations. Amber, will you come meet her? We'd love to introduce you to your niece. I looked out at the Mediterranean, then back at my phone. I'll be there next week, I typed. Save me some baby snuggles. Because that's what aunts did. That's what family did. Even complicated, imperfect family that had spent years getting it wrong before finally starting to get it right. The next week I flew back to Connecticut. But this time I didn't land the helicopter on their lawn. I landed at the local airport and drove up in a regular car. Well, a Tesla, but still a regular car. My parents were at Amber's house, along with Connor's family. When I walked in carrying gifts, my mother hugged me tightly. Thank you for coming, she said. Of course, I said. She's my niece. Amber brought baby Sophia over and I held her carefully, this tiny person who carried my name as part of hers. She's perfect, I said. She is, Amber agreed. And Claire? Thank you. For everything. For the wake-up call we needed. For coming back even after we pushed you away. For giving us another chance. We're family, I said simply. That's what family does. Later, as I sat in the living room of the house in the neighborhood I owned, holding my niece while my family talked and laughed around me, I thought about the text my mother had sent all those months ago. Don't bother showing up. And I thought about my response. No problem. Because it hadn't been a problem. I'd shown up anyway, just on my terms with my boundaries clearly established, making it impossible for them to keep dismissing me. Sometimes love required a helicopter and an eviction notice. Sometimes family required you to buy their house to make them see you. Sometimes the only way to be included was to make absolutely certain they couldn't exclude you anymore. Was it dramatic? Yes. Was it excessive? Probably. But was it effective? I looked around at my family, at my niece in my arms, at my mother smiling at me with genuine warmth, at my father nodding with actual respect. Yes. It had been effective. And sometimes with family that was exactly what you needed.